It's me, Geo Gaming, and welcome back to Reddit. I just tried to do a different intro this time, just because I honestly just wanted to. So, welcome to r/ProRevenge, everybody. Later on today, I'm going to post a video on the second channel, actually revealing my voice part for my project. My voice parts, I should say, for my project, Return to the Roar redub. That will be uploaded on the second channel later today. So, yeah, welcome to ProRevenge, everybody. So I'm going to be reading the top posts from r/ProRevenge instead of scrolling through everything else. I should do that for r/entitled parents as well, so I should do that too. So, the first one. AT&T tries to screw me over $139. I actually screwed them out of $72,000. After my wife and I got married last year, we decided that we should both get the same phone plan. Went down to the AT&T store and met a rep who told us that we'd both be on an unlimited plan for $70 $70 a month all in, including taxes and fees. I was very specific about getting the all-in price for the service. It seemed like a decent deal, so we signed up. 2 days later, I logged onto the website and I could see that there's already a bill for $139. I called up a rep to see what's up, and they tell me that between the activation fee, taxes, and surcharges, the bill was correct. I told them what the salesperson told me, and they basically told me to pound sand. I promptly told them I wanted to cancel the service and wanted the $139 waived. They said they could cancel the service, but could not /would not waive the bill. They told me that if I canceled immediately, my wife and I would lose our phone numbers, which is true. So, I figured since I already have to pay for the month, and I don't want to lose my phone number, I would just get a new carrier and cancel when I'm ready. So I do my research and find Visible, which is excellent, and we make the switch. I call back to AT&T and inform them that we have switched carriers and want to cancel the service. I again ask for a refund. The rep informs me that since I have had the service for 4 days, that I'm not entitled to a refund. He tells me to read the fine print on the contract, which indeed tells me that I have 3 days to cancel the full refund. I am now fuming because the first CSR that I talked to on day 2 denied me a refund if I canceled. I asked for the next level CSR and they sent me to a customer care and retention person. I explained the entire fiasco to him and how I feel that I have now been lied to twice by AT&T reps, the sales rep, and first CSR. He's a really cool guy and apologizes and says he'll take care of it and will completely waive the bill. I am very thankful and hang up, thinking that this is finally resolved. Fast forward a month and I get the AT&T bill in the mail saying that my payment was not received and is now late. I again pick up the phone and call AT&T. I eventually make my way through 2 CSR reps until I get back to customer service care and retention department. This time, I did not have the chill dude instead. I got a very smarmy woman. Sorry, I read that wrong. Who said that the bill was due and I owe the entire amount. I asked her to please check the CSR notes and that the last guy told me he would waive the amount. She put me on a 10-minute silent hold and came back and she said she'd escalate the matter to her supervisor. She said I should receive an email by the end of the week with a resolution. 2 weeks go by, no response. I call again. This time, I get a very nice lady that is sympathetic. She says she'll waive the bill. She comes back and tells me that she can't do anything because the bill has already been sent to collections. She said not to worry, that she'll send a letter to collections and have them waive the debt. I ask if this will go on my credit report, and she says no, and that they'll take care of that. 6 months later, I get a letter in the mail from Asset Solutions out of Georgia trying to collect the $139. I immediately send them a letter via certified email demanding that they verify the debt, since it's obviously bad. I hear nothing for 2 months, and then I get an alert that I have a negative mark on my credit. I go in, and sure enough, has indicated the amount is in collections. I immediately write letters to all 3 bureaus requesting that they remove the remark. A month goes by, and every single one of the bureaus removes the mark. Thank God. Another 3 months go by, and then I get a letter from Sunrise Credit Services in New York, again trying to collect the debt. This is truly unbelievable, because it appears that didn't verify it. Though instead of apologizing and waiving the debt, they just sold it off to another collection agency. I sent another certified letter to Sunrise demanding verification. I get nothing in reply. So far, they have not attempted to mark on my credit. That's where this part of the story ends. Who knows what will happen next? I could file a lawsuit, but the filing fee alone would be more than the amount owed. Here's the thing, I'm not cash strapped. I am blessed enough that I can easily pay the $139 without making a dent in my budget. I have lost 5 times the amount in hours spent on the phone and writing letters. But I am determined to go to the mat with AT&T on the principle alone. This brings us to the revenge stage. Ooh. You see, in addition to my day job as an attorney, I am an elected city councilman in my town. And when I was going over our monthly expenses, I noticed that we were paying AT&T close to $6,000 a month for our phones, internet, TV services. We are a fairly small town, so it was pretty obvious that we were being bent over by these clowns, that we could save a ton of money by switching. I started working with our city manager and IT director on finding other solutions. We discovered that by switching to various carriers and providers that we could save half. I never would have looked that closely into our telecom expense had AT&T not jerked me around. 2 weeks ago, the resolution to switch was put on our meeting agenda, and the council voted to pass it. We decided to completely cut ties with AT&T. Our city is saving a ton of money, getting better service, and with the money saved from switching, we were able to hire another part-time animal shelter employee, which we desperately needed. I highly doubt our city would have considered switching if I hadn't made such a stink about it. AT&T will end up losing hundreds and thousands over the coming years because of this. I hope it was worth it, AT&T. Woohoo! Dang! Alright, next one. He ruined my sister's only birth experience, so I made sure he'd never forget her. Obligatory apology for formatting this. as I'm on a mobile device. Kinda my revenge, kinda Miss Sisters, both of us really proud. This is gonna be long, so too long didn't read at the bottom. Here's our cast. My sister, we'll call her Sarah. For the story, Sisters. For the story, Sisters BF. Or Sisters F. Like BF. Yeah, you guys know it. Okay. On to the story. When I was 14, my oldest sister Sarah was 22. We found out that she was pregnant with Paul, her boyfriend of 4 years. They immediately got engaged and they were really happy. For a time, she had a horrible pregnancy, about 16 to 18 weeks, where the wonder of creating human life evaporated within her. She developed hypertemesis, which if you don't know is a really bad morning sickness. Ew. She was constantly in pain. She developed gestational diabetes, and just all around hated the experience. Around this time, Paul, the then fiance, started getting sick of the complaining. I believe the argument was, your body is built to do this, it can't be that bad. Sarah was due around Valentine's Day, and Paul's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Doe, were very excited, both about the grandkid and the fact that he could be born on a holiday. Valentine's Day isn't really a holiday, it's just not a holiday. It's Arizona's birthday, in fact. She was very against that, and she really hoped that her son would be born on the holiday, even though it's not a holiday. Even one as small as Valentine's Day is not a freaking holiday. Her birthday sometimes falls on Easter, and she hates it. Nice. Because it might make it feel that his day isn't very much about him. Well, Mrs. Doe says something like, well, if you name him Valentine or Valentino, then that'll make the day even more special to him. Again, Sister hated that idea. She thought it was tacky that he'd be bullied for it, and just really didn't like the name Valentina. Paul loved it, but agreed to go with a more average name like Daniel or Jared. I like Valentino, to be honest with you. Excuse me. Fast forward to February, and she was ready to get this over with. Sarah had officially been put on bed rest because while standing or walking on, her blood pressure took unexpected spikes and dips. I look back now and goodness do I feel bad for her. She was doing her best to avoid giving birth on Valentine's Day because, again, she didn't want him born on a holiday. Valentine's Day is not a freaking holiday. In my eyes, unfortunately, births happen when they happen, and that baby was gonna come on Valentine's Day whether she wanted him to or not. I remember waiting out in the waiting room with my dad, brothers, and Paul, who couldn't stand to be in the delivery room because it was gross. I was mad that he could have gone in but wouldn't because he thought my sister was gross while giving birth. Whereas I had to stay outside because I was too young to go in with my mom and other sister. My dad went home with the youngest two brothers because the oldest, Zeke, had to watch me because I refused to leave. 16 hours after Sarah went into labor, my little nephew was officially part of the family on the evening of Valentine's Day. Oh crap. Unfortunately, Sarah was not okay. She had to have an emergency C-section while doing the operation. And while doing the operation, discovered the back of her uterus, facing her spinal cord, had a very large and very severe, not cancerous thankfully, tumor. When I say large, I mean it was twice the size of a standard uterus. The doctors were shocked and didn't understand why nobody had noticed, and on the ultrasound. It accounted for her severe back pain and blood pressure issues. The doctors immediately went in for more surgery to remove the tumor, but sadly ended up having to perform a full hysterectomy. This meant that my nephew would be Sarah's only child. Hey! Welcome to the club. Now, while Sarah was in for surgery, Paul was taking care of everything baby-related and to make sure his son was okay. In my 14-year-old self-memory, I remember him being suitably distraught, but I didn't really pay him much mind and spent my time in the waiting room with my mother and the other sister. Zeke, however, wanted to be a good future brother-in-law and make sure that Paul was okay. He found Paul filling out the baby paperwork on his own, looking in, and in my brother's words, like he had not a single worry in his mind. Zeke asked why Paul didn't wait for Sarah to fill out the paperwork. That he would have been out of surgery within the hour. And Paul said that he just wanted her to get her rest and heal. That checked out with Zeke, and he was 16 and didn't know any better than me, at the time. Duh. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. No, he wouldn't. Excuse me. No, he wouldn't. He knows how much she hates that name, and still she needs to sign the paperwork too. My fellow peoples of Reddit, I regret to inform you that Paul forged Sarah's signature on the paperwork and waited until she was out of surgery to hand said paperwork. My sweet nephew was born on Valentine's Day. He was named Valentino. Oh no. On his first official birth certificate. I still, to this day, don't know why Paul and his family were so insistent about the name. He even picked out a different one from my sister. And before you ask, no, he was never brought up on forgery charges because his parents were witnesses to her signing the papers, even though they got there at the last minute. So Sarah dumped him and got her son's name changed a month later. She was willing to split custody with him because that's her son's father and she wants the kid to know him. But Paul vanished and she never heard anything back. Which seemed weirdly out of character to us until a mutual friend on Facebook was tagged in his wedding picture 6 months later. Paul had apparently started cheating on her not long after she got pregnant. Sarah was livid. But there wasn't much she could do, so she filed for child support and continued to live her best life. Until 6 years later. This is where the revenge starts, my friends. So, Sarah has been a single mother for the past 6 years and has been amazing at it. At this point in my career, I have been a hairdresser for about 8 months at a local Great Clips. I'm working one day, and who is seated before me? Jane, Paul's wife, herself. I take her back to the trim, and she clearly has no idea who I am. This adds up because a mutual friend, still keeps in contact with Paul, said that Jane doesn't know a thing. She has no idea about Sarah, and that she was the other woman, or that Paul actually has a kid that he has been infrequently paying child support for. She's in the dark on it all. I told myself not to be an ass and treat her like a normal customer, which I did. Now at this point, Jane was heavily pregnant, so a lot of our conversation was about that. She loved being pregnant, but it was hard. Her husband was unsympathetic. Big shocker. And she was due in 10 weeks, and they still hadn't picked out a name for their baby girl. Ladies and gentle peoples, this was my chance. I asked what kind of name she was looking for, and she said, I want something unique and unusual, but not ridiculous like Bryant Lehigh. Bryant Lehigh. I think that's how you pronounce it. Bryant Lehigh. That is one heck of a name. You know the one I'm talking about. And Paul has suggested so many already that she didn't like any of them. So I okay, little weasel I am, said, what about Sarah? My sister's name actually isn't Sarah. She was named after an older family member that passed not long after she was born. But there was no female equivalent for his name, so our parents created one. It's a beautiful name and just what Jane was looking for. She loved it. She stuck by it and I found out by stalking her on Facebook months later. She had put her foot down and said that was their daughter's name. Ooh. Now Paul has a daughter with his ex's name to remind him every day about her, and to also remind him to pay his fucking child support. Little nephew is now 10 years old, and with a new name, and no contact with his biological father though. We still do sometimes call him Val as a family nickname. He likes it, but doesn't bring it to school, so he's saying it's saying a family nickname. Sarah pretends to hate when we call him that, in a joking way. As long as he likes it, she doesn't have a problem with it. I mean, the kid's 10, so. And she's seeing a new guy who's really great, like a father to Val. Dang. That was one heck of a story. This seems like a good one. Redneck thinks it's funny to yank out mailboxes my dad makes him pay. Haha. Disclaimer. This happened a long time ago, but still makes me giggle to this day. So, way back in the day, mid-90s or so, my family lived in a log cabin on 10 acres of land in a rural area 10 minutes or so out of town. It wasn't totally the sticks, but you could definitely hear banjo music in the background sometimes. Okay? At the end of our nearly 1/4 mile long driveway was one of those roads that was also technically a state highway. In the morning, I trudged down to wait for the bus. When I got home, I grabbed the mail and carried it back. Until one Monday morning when I went out and noticed the mailbox was gone. On closer inspection, looked like it had just been ripped out of the ground. Dad was obviously not pleased. He went to talk with the county sheriff who happened to live a mile down the road. Turns out it had been happening up and down the road for months. Someone was tossing a chain over the mailboxes, yanking it out of their vehicle. He suspected the guy down the road with his big lifted 4-wheel drive truck, but couldn't prove anything. Usually happened on a Saturday or Sunday nights, with people finding out in the morning. Also seems the nicer the mailbox, the bigger the target. And many had been hit multiple times. People had been digging deeper using more durable wood, etc. The guy took it as a challenge and ripped them out again. Soft, sandy ground, and his truck was a monster. Well, Dad said challenge frickin' accepted. A bit about my father. He's a steel worker with an engineering background and a graduate degree. Built like a bear with 4 arms the size of my frickin' legs, okay? Most people are looking at him would never think this monster of a man is also brilliant, but he is. The calm, cool type that never almost loses his temper. But wrong him and God help you. So Dad goes to Lowe's and buys the fanciest prettiest mailbox they sell. He then proceeds to install it on an 8-foot long cylinder of 3 diameter hardened tool steel. But he wasn't done there. After digging down the post holders, dropping it in, he then filled it up with the quickset concrete. To really sell it, he then used some strips of half-inch wood to cover the steel core of his now indestructible mailbox of doom. Nice word! Primed and painted them so it looked like a standard 4-inch post. And even my mom had my mom decorate it with flowers and such. He wanted it to be as tempting of a target as possible. I'm laughing at it and it hasn't even started yet. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just thinking of what happens. It didn't even take a week. I went out for school in the morning and found the mailbox was right there where it should. Attached was a 30-foot chain and entire hitch assembly ripped right off the truck's frame, sheared and bolts. It was marvelous to behold. Sheriff gets called over, dies laughing when he sees it. He went to the house of the guy that was suspected and, fun fact, verified the damage to his truck. Match. Fun fact, frickin' with the mailbox is a federal crime, as you go to the federal prison. Not those cushy state places. Dad was unofficially rewarded by the sheriff's department with a few cases of beer and subvention. And after that, the deputy in town would flash him a thumbs up whenever they saw him. Too long didn't read. Guy was pulling out mailboxes with a chain attached to his truck. Dad makes invincible mailbox. Guy goes to federal prison. Edit. Apparently, vandalism to mailboxes is far more common than I thought, and other people have taken similar measures. I guess scary minds think alike. Edit. As many have commented, apparently federal prison is actually a lot better than state. Didn't know that. Sorry. Yeah. Oh. These ProRevenge stories are good. I want to read a long one before this video ends. If this video is 30 minutes long, I'm sorry. These are really good stories. Maybe I should do r slash ProRevenge stream one of these days. Leave a like if you want that. Anyway, last story of the night. As of recording this. I gotta get this video in 8 hours, so I gotta end it soon. Roommate thought she was sneaky, ended up owing me $400 and got suspended. This is a long one. TLDR is below. All the stories that I've read are pretty long, so. Oops. Silence. Cut that out. So this happened my second semester dorming at my college campus. I had met my roommate at orientation and could kind of already tell she was going to be a pain in my ass. And I was right about that. I had planned on moving rooms to be closer to some friends the next semester. But let me get to the story that led to my revenge on our campus. You had to pay for meals using your student ID, which had a certain amount of money on it each semester. You could also use an app that you would put your name and ID info into that it makes it easier to pay. But the name and ID must match for it to work, which will be important later. Any funds from the fall semester would roll over to the spring. But then, at the end of the spring, it would just expire. Because of this, and because I only ate 1 or 2 a day, I had a ton saved up on my card. My roommate, on the other hand, did not. So I offered to pay for some of her meals from time to time, in trade of her picking up food for us, which involved her using my card twice in person. Then she returned it. Then one day, I noticed on my app that my card was being charged even when I was not ordering food. And it's not a meal. Like, a meal for several people. It's meant that whoever was ordering, I wonder who, either had stolen my ID card, which I had in my pocket when I got the charge, or was impersonating my info on the app, which are two big no-nos on campus. I was quick to put two and two together and was completely pissed. I was intentionally going to confront her on it, but I decided to formulate the plan instead. Oh. Sorry guys, my ear's popping. Maybe it's because I'm tired. That day I went and ordered a second ID card for $25 to use for later. As it took a couple weeks to get a new one, I let her charge several things to my card over a good 2 weeks. For her and her friends, she wasn't very good at hiding it either, and they would come to our dorm and eat. While I just screenshot and sent emails to the support team of the app, then charges knowing nothing would get done until I contacted someone in person. And one day it got even better, as you can buy groceries with a card off campus as well. She decided to pay for alcohol on my card, which doesn't get pinged as an issue on my card due to me being over 21, but she was only 19. Not sure how she got it, but it was just the thing to finally act on my plan. I put on my best sad face and contacted the head of campus living and head of my dorm about the charges on my account. I dropped some hints that it would be my roommate. I mentioned that I got a new ID. That's what I should do. I was told to order a new card, and once I got it, to deactivate my current one and use the new one for purchases now, making my old ID have a balance of $0 and also to ping if someone uses it to buy anything. They also told me that they would be visiting my dorm to discuss the issue with my roommate. I accepted that and waited. They sent the confirmation email that they would be visiting, and I just decided to add more fuel to the fire. My roommate was groaning about not having the funds for food and not in front of me in our dorm. I told her I really couldn't help her as I was running low on funds, but she kind of laughed it off and I left the room to probably go use my old ID. I deactivated my first card right after she left, and surprise, surprise, she used my info to pay. Except when she tried to pay for her friends this time, it was declined and pinged and that my ID was used. Campus security was called and she was escorted back to our room. Pretty much perfect timing. Our meeting with campus living. She was scared shitless when they came to the dorm to talk and look through her stuff. On her phone, still logged into the app, was my ID information and name. And in her dorm closet was a half-full bottle of cheap vodka. And on my phone was a screenshot of said unauthorized vodka purchase. Okay. In the end, she was forced to pay me back all the funds she used in cash. Reported for underage drinking, which automatically suspends you from campus living for at least a year, and would have on record that she performed identity theft. Ooh, hey, mi cabeza. Which I could also have charged her for out of school. In the end, I had my own dorm for the rest of the semester, and even part of the semester after, because it wasn't put as an available room for new dormers. I did get all my money back from her parents, who were so embarrassed and apologized profusely. And when she did eventually come back to campus, no one wanted to dorm with her because she knew she had stolen her roommate's ID. I think in the end she rented off campus. TLDR, dorm roommate thought she could get away with identity theft but got busted for stealing an alcohol possession. Oh, my remote fell. Okay. Alright, guys. That is one heck of a story. The last two I read are... This one and the one before that were amazing stories. It's 12:06 a.m. as of recording this. And I need to get this video out in 8 hours. So, that means it's unfortunately the end of the video. So guys, that is about it. Like I said, if you enjoyed it, click or tap that like button and subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. Like I said, later on today, maybe this afternoon, I will have another video out on the second channel revealing the 3 characters I'm playing for the Return of the Roar project. Well, maybe this voice will give you a kind of a hint. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you all to death, and don't forget to stay positive until the Pride Lands end. Adios!